So at first what I'm going to do is slice up these mushrooms very thinly, because when we cook them, they're going to cook probably within a couple of minutes. And really, you can cut them to your own likeness, but that's pretty thin enough for me. I want a lot of mushrooms in my marsala. Put them in a bowl. And next what I'm going to do is make French bread. Now, what I've done is I've just cut I bought a regular French bread from like, you can get it anywhere, they make them daily, and I just cut it lengthwise in half. And what I'm going to do is, what I have here is some butter, a half a stick of butter, maybe, actually, I think it's a 6 tablespoons to like 2/3 of a stick of butter. You can put a whole stick of butter in there. And I put about maybe 5 tablespoons of minced garlic and a little bit of parsley for color. You can use dry or fresh. So what I'm going to do is use my spoon and use a little bit and kind of put on there, and right away, what you want to do right away is spread it. So make sure you're mixing in between, because all of the garlic and the solids and stuff kind of settle to the bottom very quickly. So what you're going to do is just grab it and right away spread it before it soaks up into the bread, because you don't want it to get super soggy in one area and not in others. You want to evenly distribute it. And get all the corners too. Don't forget to get the corners, you know. You can even like kind of scrape it from the tough side and kind of go like this. Just make sure you're not bruising it. And if you don't have enough, you can always make more. Sorry, I forgot to mention, of course I melted the butter. I just put it in the microwave for a little bit to melt the butter. And then you throw your minced garlic and your parsley in there. Now they sell this stuff separately at the stores, but nothing is like homemade fresh garlic spread. And it's so easy and so inexpensive when you do it yourself. Alright, and that's it. That's simple. I'm going to make a quick little salad real quick just for a side, but in the meantime I have some water boiling and I put a pinch of salt in there, and I'm going to let that go so I can put some pasta in there. But I'm just going to cut up some red onions very thinly, not too much. Throw a little bit of that in there. It's kind of like a replica of all the Olive Garden salad. I think they use olives. I'm not quite sure, but I haven't been there in a while. But I know they use red onion, and they're gonna use cucumber. I think I'm gonna cut this in half. I don't like having my cucumber with a lot of the skin on it. So, but I do like a little bit. So I'm just gonna take kind of a little bit off like that. Cut those a little bit thicker than I would with the red onions. That in there. And my lettuce is half spring salad, half romaine. So it has a little bit of what is this? Looks like spinach. I think this is a rutabaga. I'm not quite sure. Looks like some type of red cabbage. I'm not exactly sure. I guess I'll put that in the description later once I figure that out. And I love Roma tomatoes. I'm only going to put a half in there. I'll cut that so it's 4th cut. And that's it. So I got my salad going. I'm going to put some saran wrap, put that back in the fridge, because what you want is you definitely want to, if you want to save on time as far as prepping, you can make this hours in advance. And you want it in the refrigerator so it stays very crisp and cold. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And then I'm going to work on our marsala. So I got my water rapidly boiling. I'm not going to quite put the pasta in yet because I want my chicken to be at least halfway cooked, but I'm going to work on the chicken now. So the first thing that I'm going to do is put some oil in my pan. I have olive oil. You can use any type of oil, just make sure it's a light oil and it's good for sauteing. I'm probably going to put maybe 3 tablespoons or so, just make sure the non-stick, I would say, pan is evenly incorporated. Now what I did here was I lightly floured my chicken. I seasoned it before that with just salt and pepper. So what I'm going to do is just sear. Why I use flour, so you don't have to, but it just gives it a nice little coat on it. A little crust, I should say, actually, on your chicken. So now that I had already taken off the chicken, I'm going to let it rest for a little bit. I'm going to add the mushrooms to the drippings and saute those up a little bit. I don't want to stir this around too much. I kind of want to keep it shaped because mushrooms are very delicate. Ooh. Mushrooms are very delicate, so you don't want to mess with them too much. You just kind of want to just stir it around. Make sure they get cooked on every side. Some people kind of, you know, do their professional thing where they flip up the... I don't have time for that, and I definitely don't want to waste some mushrooms. So, I mean, I have the skills, but I prefer not to, especially on camera. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to let it kind of get its little crust on it a little bit. You want that little bit of crust flavor, charred flavor, seared flavor, however you want to call it, on the mushroom. So I'll probably let it go on a medium high with that oil for about a minute, and then I'll probably try to flip it around with this. Smells so good. Mushrooms, when you saute them, very good. See, when I flip them over, you see this one right here, you can kind of tell it has a beautiful color to it. And you don't have to make sure they're all like that because it's kind of impossible to get it all like that, but at least if you got a couple like that, it's good. So I'm going to turn the volume. I'm going to turn, at this point, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Let it go for maybe another minute. And turn it on low because now I'm going to make the sauce. And at this point, since the chicken's already done, the mushrooms are already sauteed, the sauce takes a few minutes, I'm going to add the pasta to the water. Come on. And what I got is some thin spaghetti. Thin spaghetti, I think, takes about 5 minutes, which is a perfect time frame. Also, what I'm going to do is preheat my oven to 420 degrees. And I'm going to put the spaghetti in whole. And I put a little oil in there too. I just let it kind of sit there. Let it sit there for a while. It's going to get soft and you can kind of slowly see it's shrinking and slowly, it's gonna sink to the bottom. For about now, it's a little bit ready to move around. So what I'm gonna do is slightly move them around so that they not only stick together, but they're all the way inside the water submerged. Alright, so while that's going, I'll give that about 5 minutes, 6 minutes. I'm gonna make the marsala sauce. What I'm gonna do now is add some marsala. Now what marsala is wine. You can find it in a wine section, of course, but I found it in the dessert wine section of where I got it. I know that's usually where I find it every time I get it. So I'm gonna add about, if I can get this lid off. Come on! I'm gonna add about, let's see, maybe about, I don't know. Let me turn that down. So at the moment, you can kind of tell it's thickening up at the moment. What you want to do is make sure it's just get it to not a sauce consistency. Well, yeah, kind of a sauce consistency. A little bit more. And how you can kind of tell it's at that right consistency is right now. It's kind of ready, but not quite. Once you go like this and it's not connecting so quick, that's when you know it's ready for the next step. And what that step is adding some chicken broth to it. So I'm just going to let this go for a couple minutes to let the water evaporate out of it so that it can be a little bit thicker. Some people can add, if they have a lot of sauce, if they want a lot of marsala, they can add more marsala, and if they want it to be less thinner, they can add a little bit of cornstarch and water. That's really up to you. I like a lot of sauce, so I'm probably going to add a cup of marsala and let that thicken up. A good cup or so. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of chicken broth to add a little bit more flavor. Alright, so what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to, well, I added about maybe a tablespoon or so of some fresh minced garlic. And at this point, I'm going to turn the temperature down and add the chicken back into it. Now at this point you can leave it the way it is. Some people like it creamy. Now we are the type that likes our marsala creamy. So I'm going to add some half and half. It kind of thickens it up at the same time, makes it very creamy. So let that thicken up a little bit. Let that go slowly. In about 5 minutes or so, it should be ready. I'm gonna add my mushrooms back in there too.